This question, actually, full disclosure, comes from Ian from A Tribe Called Red.
Yay!
Okay.
My bro.
You were a force in the indigenous rights movements going back to the 60s, and that was a time of connection with other civil rights efforts.
Kinda.
Kind of.
Only kinda. But keep going.
Tell me about that connection. I'm curious about that. I think a lot of people are curious about the history of movements being connected in terms of civil rights.
Well, we were certainly connected in terms of all being colonialized by the same bunch of racketeers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who was marginalized.
Absolutely.
I was spending time with Stokely Carmichael, Muhammad Ali, Harry Belafonte, Nina Simone. I mean, I was spending time with other musicians, and I'll consider Muhammad Ali a musician just because he
was maybe the first rapper, actually.
Oh, he was, yeah. And he was just such an everything person, you know. He was wonderful to me. Well, that's another long conversation. Anyway, so I was connected with individuals, but you never saw me at the civil rights rallies. You never saw me at the photo ops for the anti-war rallies. They had enough people in the civil rights rallies. They didn't need me. So I was out at the reservations, begging for somebody to help. You know who helped? Dick Gregory, Muhammad Ali, Marlon Brando. So there were a lot of things going on in the American Indian movement which were particularly masculine. It was a very masculine movement for quite a long time. Idle No More also addresses very important social issues in some ways that are similar to the American Indian movement. And the American Indian movement, the men in the American Indian movement were kind of ex-cons who were trying to inform Aboriginal people in the streets that they had rights, that if a policeman came and arrested them, they didn't have to go. They had some rights, but nobody knew. So AIM started out with that as their aim. Idle No More is a lot more feminine. It's really dedicated to more contemporary issues, not only the terrible bill that came down that threatens the indigenous people, but also threatens the entire environment. So Idle No More is a wonderful movement, and it's a genuine grassroots movement. There's not like a president and a vice president. It's not a corporation.
Yeah.
It's whoever shows up, and a lot of people show up. And what they're dealing with and what they're spotlighting is a bunch of things that have been going on for a long time. That's why we're so good at letting people know what it's about, because we've been dealing with it forever. It's not like the Occupy movement where a bunch of people show up and then it kind of goes silent again. No, we've been dealing with these issues for a long time, and in coming together and dealing with them with other people and with our peers locally, it makes an impact.
And they're issues, interestingly, that impact a lot of people, too.
Yes, they do.
You know?
And if I can just mention, one of the things that we're trying to deal with in Idle No More, and I think just throughout grassroots Indian country, is missing and murdered Indigenous women, which is a much bigger issue. Missing and murdered women everywhere. I mean, what is going on, boys? I mean, you got to wake up, you got to grow up, you got to stop doing that. I mean, just murder in the world, whether it's professional murder and rackets, whether it's professional murder in the army, or whether it's local tragedies. You know, it's so out of control. It's going to take a lot of people working on this issue, because it's a very, very deep thing. It has to do with how we raise our sons, what we praise people for, and goddamn alcohol, ruining people's lives, people running around with hangovers and broken lives. With Aboriginal people, whether you're thinking about missing and murdered Indigenous women or something else, we're dealing with the fact that many, many people who are trying to raise children today didn't have any parents. They were raised in residential schools. Their role models were bullying nuns and pedophile priests, and that's not the way to be. And we all know that now. And Canada is addressing it. Soon we're going to have a Truth and Reconciliation on June 3rd in Ottawa. We're doing a concert. A lot of people have worked very hard on finding out the real facts of what was going on with the residential schools, which were a horror. How many people know that little Indian children were put in electric chairs, to torture them into something or other? I mean, it's really, it's much worse than most people realize.